Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Index to Office Hours. Today is the 16th of May, and this is Index to Office Hours 107. That is a big number, and that is exciting to announce. So as always, I'll start off with my introduction. So if anyone is new to Index to Office Hours, this is the town square where ecosystem participants come together to discuss the most important and relevant topics for indexes. This is the conversation we love participation. In particular, today we're going to have an open discussion all about fire hose. And so during today's that particular section, we'd love to hear your participation either via voice or text. And if you're having any issues unmuting your mic and speaking, please do let me know and I'll try and get you sorted out. This is a reminder that this session is recorded and distributed onto public channels like YouTube. So if you're concerned about privacy, please bear that in mind. And with that, let's get into today's agenda. So I will kick it off with our shout out for 𝗨𝗀𝗧𝗂𝗧, and that is episode 116 with Elisa. And Elisa is an accomplished business entrepreneur, cybersecurity expert and author. And she has quite a unique story, talking a bit about her experience in the Web3 space and her time as the CTO of 𝗨𝘀𝗀𝗧𝗂𝗧. And so if you're interested in learning a bit about her experience, she was also a mentor at the Theo Foundation. She has quite a varied and interesting background. So if you're interested to learn about her as an individual, you should check out the episode in, let me just link it right here so you guys have access to it right there. So there you have it. That is the opening remarks. And with that, I'll hand over to Anna, who's going to take us into our regularly scheduled Repo Watch section.
Thank you, Abel, and hello, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
We can indeed.
Thank you for confirming. Okay, so today on execution layer client, we have had a new release from Firehose Ethereum. This is release number 1.4.1, and this is about substreams. So substreams running without a specific tier 2 substream client endpoint will now expose tier 2 service, so the substreams internal v2 substreams, so it can be used internally. An important warning: if you don't use dedicated tier 2 nodes, make sure that you don't expose the new service substreams, internal v2 substreams to the public from your load balancer or using a firewall. This release also contains 2 breaking changes. So flag substream partial mode enable has been renamed to substreams tier 2, and flag substreams client endpoint now defaults to empty string, which means it is its own client endpoint. Okay, now another release, new release for Nethermind. This is version 1.19.0, release candidate 0. So I'll start this one with a warning. So once you upgrade to this release, downgrading to an earlier one is not possible because of the new database format. And resync is not required to update to this version. However, you'll get the full benefits of disk space optimization only after fresh sync. And again, this is a release candidate, not a full release. But some of the changes, it includes significant storage reduction. It allows for faster syncs due to the new auto-pivot approach. On mainnet, it reduces memory usage by about 1 GB after resync or full pruning, and it allows specifying local IP, and it fixes Ethereum capabilities for archives nodes. Please let us know if you have tried this release, but if you haven't, that's understandable because again, it's a release candidate. We have also had a new release on Arbitrum Nitro. This is release version 2015 Alpha 2. Again, not a full release, but it upgrades Get to version 1.12.2, and it fixes an issue with the ETH estimate gas RPC gas cap not fully taking into account the L1 gas charges. This release also improves sequencer reliability, adds L3 support, and adds the Shanghai changes to the EVM to ARB OS version 11 compared to the previous alpha release. And this is all we have this week for execution layer clients. Moving on to consensus layer clients, we have had on Prism 3 different new release candidates for release 404, and then the full release 404, which contains important security fixes that improve the resiliency of the Ethereum consensus layer. So please let us know if you've tried this new Prism release. We have also had a new release from Teku. This is release number 23.5.0, and this is a recommended update containing old attestation filtering. On the graph stack, we have added the POI radio to the repo watch, and the latest release there was release number 0.2.0, which disables, unsubscribes, and uses timeouts. And that is it from repo watch. I will hand over to Juan now. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. Unfortunately, we don't really have that much for Protocol Watch either. There have been no updates to either governance or research categories in the forum. There's only like 2 PRs that have been updated, which are Scratch 6 and 5. Those are basically testnet contracts deployed from Scratch, just for testing purposes. So they are not going to be used in production. They're just for testing the L2 transfer tools. And there's also no new updates no new releases for the network subgraphs yet. We are working on the L2 transfer tools, so they will be updated hopefully soon. And that's pretty much it for Protocol Watch. So I'm going to hand it over to Abel now.
Awesome. Appreciate the updates as always for Repo Watch and Protocol Watch. Great. So now we get on into the open discussion part of today's conversation. And for that, I would like to bring Matthew up on stage to discuss a topic that he's been wanting to bring up with the indexers. And so without further ado, Matthew, if you'd like to go ahead, feel free to.
Thanks, Abel. Yeah, so now that we've got through a couple of weeks of playing with Firehose as part of the MIPS program, I was wondering if anybody had feedback on how that went, desires, wishes, things that they would like to see improved, and in general, what is preventing you from using Firehose today to serve like Ethereum mainnet subgraphs? Or maybe you are already, and that's awesome. So just wanted to get some feedback here on the experience and what do we need to do to help you on your Firehose journey. I think we're going to start seeing a lot of activity around substream-based subgraphs, which of course require Firehose. So yeah, I'll stop there and see if anybody has any comments.
Yeah, so regarding Firehose, so I've started the mission to sync the substreams-based subgraphs. Well, just one of them, because the other one didn't sync up the chain head. But the one that hit the chain head, to me, it stopped at chain head or around like 200 blocks behind chain head, and it literally sat there for like 12 hours, and then it suddenly and magically got up back to chain head, and it stayed glued to chain head. And then I'm worried to put my whole production stack on this due to how it behaves. Yeah, it was a bit weird, and this and I had also Orion that was using the same endpoint I was using, and he didn't have those issues, which is again very weird.
Definitely sounds weird. So need more experience, I would say, to it's hard when let's start a new stack and let's have one subgraph, right? You have an experience of one, so
yeah, that's true.
Help. But yeah, maybe other people have better experience, or maybe we need more diagnostics in GraphNode before you feel comfortable using it, substreams. That could also be feedback. What about other people?
We've got a few people typing, so they will respond. But I just want to direct attention to Anton's comment saying that the DevOps team loved it and are looking to expand even into other departments. Do you want to elaborate a bit on that? And do you have any specific feedback, Anton?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm actually not capable of giving a lot of comments on this subject, as we have another man dedicated to it who is living in Asia and it's night for him, so unfortunately he cannot participate. But overall, his review that it gives a really sufficient improvement into the syncing speed, and he wants to do research on how to implement it into our RPC team. Maybe it will help with them and with other indexers for different networks, for example, Agoric or other Cosmos-based chain Huck or something like that. So basically, we have a lot of projects where we can contribute it, and we want to package it into kind of a unique solution. And definitely, as we will figure out something, we will open source and share the code on how we have done it. But now it's research made by my other teammates.
All right.
Gotcha.
Very nice.
Oops.
That's fine.
Yeah, thanks so much, Anton. Also, just want to direct attention to Gemma's comment there, if you want to respond to that, Matthew.
Yeah, Gemma saying we had problems with the subgraph getting out of sync, and we needed to update our graph node. So I think that was a common occurrence for most people when the mission was announced. The version of graph node and substreams. Well, everybody needs to do an update to get everything working well. So I'm really hopeful that the latest versions are much more stable than the earlier version. So if you're on the latest graph node release candidate plus the latest Firehose plus substreams, I'm hoping it's stable for people. And if it's not, then please speak up so we get the team to start looking at that.
Yeah, the issues
But certainly those recent releases from last week do have quite a lot of stability fixes in around dealing with subgraphs that are using substreams.
So the issues I had, particularly with the blip there where it didn't catch up to chain header and it suddenly did, was happening on the latest version of everything, like GraphNode version 31 RC0, and then also updated Firehose and the substreams versions to the latest.
All right. Well, please send reports in going forward if you notice any problems, because
yeah,
we need
we'll
to
do.
figure those out. Anybody else? Crickets. All right. I can see there's a couple of people in this meeting who I know played with Firehose, but they haven't provided any comments. I don't know if I have to be a teacher and start calling people out. I don't want to do that, no. Maybe they'll type some comments.
Oh, I see Alexis is typing.
And for those of you who have not tried Firehose, a question for you is, what's stopping you from trying it? All right, so Alexis is saying, been using Firehose for legacy subgraphs, so legacy being non-substream subgraphs for more than a month on mainnet and no problems. Cool. And Vincent, we're looking to a highly available Firehose configuration for all of our setup in the next upgrade, but that's about a month away. And want to get some more testing. All right. So, Vincent, are you going to try to deploy everything in Kubernetes? I don't know. Good question. Feels like Firehose more expensive or not? I'll put my 2 cents in here, and then maybe other people can comment on that's a good question. I think if you're trying to run like a single subgraph or a handful of subgraphs, setting up the whole Firehose infrastructure is definitely more expensive. And then I would think that at some point, there's a tipping point where the Firehose infrastructure becomes cheaper to run than running more Aragon nodes or whatever you need to feed all the different subgraphs. But I don't have any experience running huge numbers of subgraphs, so maybe somebody who does that could comment on that. Maybe Alexis has some comments. Maybe he's running more than a handful of subgraphs. But yeah, definitely if you're running a single subgraph, then definitely Firehose is going to be more expensive than just setting up a single archive node, for sure.
But why is Firehose less expensive if you have tons of subgraphs? I have like 500 subgraphs on my production database right now, syncing up. Well, most of them, or almost all of them, are up the chain head. And I've never had issues with Aragon, and I'm not even load balancing right now between multiple Aragons. And everything seems to be working just fine. And Aragon is much cheaper to run anyway, because you'd only have to have like 2 terabytes of disk space compared to the Firehose that also requires an Aragon node eventually, because it doesn't have ETH call data.
Sorry, my Discord decided to restart.
Oh crap!
I think I'm back.
Did you get anything of what I just said, or should I repeat everything?
I heard what you said in terms of you're running 500 subgraphs with just 1 Aragon node. Is that what I heard?
Yes, and it seems fine. Now,
how about if those subgraphs are actually syncing from Genesis or whatever their start block is? I assume that would put quite a bit of load on your Aragon in that case.
500 core load on a 32 core CPU, yeah.
So I think that's where it would be faster, but I don't know. I think this is an interesting discussion.
I see Alexi typing, so I'm assuming he's responding to some comments from earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly have not done, extensive testing on which is cheaper to run. When we started here, we were said, please run Firehose. Okay, that was our starting point. So we didn't spend time on the, let's test it without Firehose. So,
I love the YOLO approach there.
I think that once we got the EVMX, the costs will be closer to, maybe not as cheap, but closer to running just an Aragon node, right? Because really, right now it's a doubling of resources that's really painful.
But still,
yeah.
with Firehose, if you want to scale up, you still have to like copy paste all the data to another server, right? And it's basically the same as using Aragon. You can also scale Aragon horizontally or vertically as much as you want. You just copy paste it to another machine and you run it there and put it in the front of a load balancer and call it a day, I guess. Like how does why
you don't have to run Firehose that way, right? Because Firehose can use one central set of block files that can be shared across hosts, assuming you have a shared storage solution.
So essentially
you're way cheaper.
Yeah, so essentially you're running another RPC, just the RPC itself, and not cloning the data, right? Because Aragon can also do that. Like Aragon has
it slows down if you run multiple RPC servers in Aragon, unless that has changed recently. You need them to all communicate together through the network, and there are huge slowdowns if you do that, right? I don't know if that was fixed. And then if you want to have the performance, I think you can only do with the IPC, but then it's on the same machine, so it doesn't help that much, right? And I think you can only run one RPC server, right, for Aragon if you do that, if you use IPC. So it doesn't. It scales kind of weird, right?
All right, I didn't know that.
But for object storage scales tremendously, right? You can scale. I mean, you know that big websites use that. They can scale to millions of users, right? So nothing stops you to scale infinitely with object storage, right?
Yep. But we don't need the scale to millions yet, I guess. We don't have that many subgraphs.
Shoot for the moon, man.
But I think one of the interesting things that's coming is the ability to, I don't know what you call it, the bulk import data into GraphNode, which will definitely speed up syncing a new subgraph. So currently, when you use RPC calls or the existing Firehose solution, it does an insert into Postgres one block at a time, next block, next block. It takes quite a while if you need to populate, a huge subgraph. And with the features that are coming, you'll be able to, dear Firehose, prepare me a CSV file. Dear Postgres, here's a CSV file. Bulk load. Great. Now go. So that should speed up those really huge subgraphs for the initial sync. So I think that's going to be an advantage.
So that's basically recycling the method used by Sparkle, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Is there any hope for Arbitrum Firehose anytime soon? Because I've seen that for now it hinges mostly on the willingness of the main maintainers of the Arbitrum clients, and the problem that I can see now is that Arbitrum is becoming probably one of the biggest EVM chains, right? I think it's now ahead of Avalanche, etc. And we don't have any modern way of indexing it yet. and also, I think that Arbitrum is becoming a more of a first-class citizen in the graph because we're moving to it, right? Moving the protocol to Arbitrum. So, is there any way? Is there any plan to push harder on supporting Arbitrum, basically?
That's probably a question for somebody who's not here. Like I would ask Pedro, because at the end of the day, there's I don't know. Somebody makes the decisions about which core R&D teams is prioritizing which things, and I guess that one's not at the top of the list at the moment. Or maybe it is. Somebody's working on it. We haven't heard about it yet. I don't know. I would love Firehose for every change, so I'm going to agree with you that I think this is important, but I don't know where it is on the to-do list.
Arbitrum would be weird because you need 3 integrations. First for Arbitrum classing, and then to Nitro, and then to whatever the hell the other one, faster chain is called. So, yeah.
Yeah. These new EVM chains make the stack interesting, shall we call it?
I mean, really, my rationale here for this question is that I'm preparing for the move to Arbitrum, right, of the graph protocol. I was thinking, well, I'd rather go all in from the get-go and set up my Arbitrum firehose and everything, being able to start indexing the graph protocol on Arbitrum and then move there, right, and use the potentially use my reader node as my also the node for sending out transactions and stuff. Yeah, that's why, right? I would have loved to just start with a fresh tech from the beginning.
I'm with you.
Oh yeah, Vince just pointed out that Optimism will have a hard fork finally on June 6th, 16 o'clock UTC. Yeah, we've been waiting for this stupid hard fork to come forever. And man, hopefully it goes fine, because we need to have Optimism on mainnet fairly soon. I don't think it will be... it will make it in the MIPS program anyway, so it won't be part of the MIPS migrations chain, whatever you want to call it, but it will make it to mainnet eventually if everything goes well after the hard fork, so fingers crossed. And for those who don't know, Optimism will have a hard fork similar to how Arbitrum had its Nitro hard fork. So you will end up with Optimism running 𝗨𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 as an equivalent to Arbitrum Classic, where it will be stuck in read-only mode, and then you'll have like a new Optimism 𝗨𝗃𝗃𝗃, which will be the equivalent of Arbitrum Nitro, which is a separate client, separate software that will take over from the block where the 𝗨𝗃𝗃𝗃 stopped, and yeah, it will act basically like you have Arbitrum today.
Sounds like technically the firehose would make Arbitrum and Optimism kind of easier to handle, right? Because once you've extracted the data from the older blocks, you don't even need that client anymore. You can just throw it away, right? Instead of having it run forever. So yeah, it's win 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 all the way, right?
Any other feedback from other indexers who haven't tried Firehose yet but wanted to? And I know it's been a topic here before that lack of time is a concern, so I understand that one. But any other feedback?
is there a way yet to host substreams anywhere yet? Like not, for example, even on the hosted service, is there a way? Or because
You
people
can
have been
use
asking me.
substreams on the hosted service. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
For Ethereum subgraphs, you can use substreams on the hosted service.
It seems that Web3 devs are losing patience. And so, yeah, they're really itching to run their substreams already.
Go ahead. It was just not, broadly advertised, I believe, but it is there. It does work. And then maybe someday there will be substreams on the decentralized network. Not sure what the criteria is to announce that. Anybody else want to give feedback on MIPS program Firehose? How well did it go? Mark, Andre, Validation Valley, either of you guys? I know you guys ran it or are running it.
Actually,
Mark, sorry.
yeah, random question is for the Firehose storage of the merged blocks. What is the performance on cloud providers acceptable for doing this? Because for now I have my own S3 solution that is very fast, but I was thinking of outsourcing that work to the cloud providers, Google Cloud or AWS S3, right?
I
How
think
does
the
that
only
perform?
thing you have to worry about with those cloud providers is the egress costs, right? Every time you read the data, it costs money, but I think otherwise it should be fine. Certainly the Streaming Fast team runs the whole Firehose stack on GCP.
So no custom object storage on their end, right?
No, they're just using all the standard Google Cloud stuff. Nothing special. Custom. Not that I know of, anyway. So it should work. Some feedback here in the chat. A few more documentation would be needed. A bit of trial and error. But once, you got through that, then it works, which is good. There is some work going on to integrate the Firehose and Substreams documentation into the graph documentation. Not sure where that's at, but there is a project active to do that. So that will make it a bit easier to find the documentation. It'll all be in one place. I think one of the things that's missing clearly is the clear description of what all the different options are in Graph Node in terms of when do you connect to an RPC node versus Firehose versus substreams. I've never seen any clear documentation on that. I think there's quite a bit of discussion on that. So that's probably a good area to focus on. Marc-Andre, did you try to set up HA? Or you didn't try that yet? Because we did a bunch of training sessions here in the Indexer office hours on the Firehose, but we never got to the HA training.
Yeah, still trying to figure it out. I mean, I think I'm about to get the merger service running, but it's a work in progress. So no, I can't say that I got it to work, but trying to add one component one by one requires quite a bit of research and work to get it right. So I can't say it's.
Yeah, for sure, it's not easy. So if more people are interested in this topic, then maybe we can do future presentations in Index or office hours on this topic. Because the up till now, we just presented the all-in-one solution: deploy everything on one machine. But the Firehose stack is meant to separate all of those individual components into separate containers, which all, you can scale each container separately depending on the load.
Right, and starting with just one-in-one, all-in-one solution is a great way to get started and build some knowledge. But yeah, once you go beyond that, doc is a little difficult to find and it's confusing. There's different Firehose versions out there, and looks like they're using different parameters. And that's okay. It's possible to get it working, but I think someone mentioned a central place for documentation would certainly help quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And you guys using Kubernetes, Marc-Andre? Or you're trying to do it with Docker Compose, or? Curious. Yes, Kubernetes. Okay. I have zero experience with Kubernetes, so I won't be able to help with that part, but I can definitely explain all the components and how they glue together. All right, so we'll put that. So a few points we're hearing here is improve some documentation and more discussion on high availability. Anything else?
All right. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Oh, when a fire hose on Amazon Alexa? That's a question for you, Matthew. Okay.
I don't know. You can run substreams in a web browser. It does work. You can stream directly from Firehose into a web browser. So
very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Cool. Well, Matthew, if you want to say any final comments, let me know. Otherwise, hopefully this has been useful. Do you want to make any final comments or anything like this before we move on?
Nope. Keep the feedback coming. Just here, or feel free to post feedback and tag me in the Indexer Firehose channel, and I will keep working on making your life easier to run Firehose.
Good stuff. That is music to my ears. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Matthew. And that about wraps up that section. We do have additional 15 minutes for this call here. And I want to open up the floor for anyone who has any topics that they'd like to discuss while everyone is right here. So yeah, if you have any questions, thoughts, comments, topics, please do either unmute your mic. And again, if you have any issues there, let me know. Otherwise, feel free to type in the chat box and we can get a conversation going. There we go, the infamous crickets. Well, if no one has any particular topics that they'd like to discuss, then I'm going to take this opportunity to give everyone 15 minutes back and say thank you all for attending today's conversation and for getting involved. Yeah, always good to hear feedback from the community, and we'll try and do these more often so that all of you who are engaging with the tools in the ecosystem have an opportunity to feed that back to the developers working on this stuff. So yeah, great. Thank you, everyone. And we look forward to having you all again, same time next week, 6 p.m. UTC. I wish you all a lovely rest of your days, and see ya. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, y'all.